Chapter 9 Lessons in Death and Botany. Danny's heart races as she navigates the ruins, evading the relentless pursuit of the undead creatures that mirror the predatory beasts of Earth's history. Her surroundings, once a testament to the expanse of the Knights of Solomon, now serve as a treacherous battleground where ancient monstrosities rise to claim the living. The creatures, each embodying the primal instincts of long-extinct predators, converge on Danny with eerie coordination. She faces an onslaught of diverse threats, swift and agile predators, reminiscent of prehistoric raptors, massive behemoths with the strength of ancient megafauna, and airborne assailants inspired by the predatory prowess of avian hunters. Dodging and weaving through crumbling structures, Danny struggles to maintain her composure. The creatures' movements echo the relentless pursuit of their living counterparts, making each encounter a test of her survival instincts. Despite her exhaustion and the relentless onslaught, Danny remains resilient, drawing upon her combat skills and agility to outmaneuver her undead adversaries. Her sword becomes an extension of her will, a beacon of hope in the midst of the chaos. Swinging and slashing, Danny fends off the relentless horde. But the sheer number and diversity of the creatures makes the battle a harrowing ordeal. Danny faces off against a pair of undead creatures resembling swift feathered raptors from Earth's distant past, their once sleek feathers now matted and decayed. The creatures' elongated snouts house rows of serrated teeth. Their agile movements mimic the predatory precision of their living counterparts, making them formidable adversaries. The air is thick with tension as the creatures encircle her, their decayed feathers rustling ominously. Danny initiates the confrontation with a quick sprint, avoiding the lunging bite of one raptor. With a swift turn, she slashes her sword at its flank, leaving a shallow cut. The agile creature recoils, hissing in frustration. The second raptor lunges from the side, but Danny sidesteps with finesse. Seizing the opportunity, she performs a spinning maneuver, delivering a powerful kick to the creature's exposed side. The raptor stumbles, momentarily disoriented. As the raptors regroup, Danny focuses on precision strikes. She targets vulnerable joints and openings in their decaying armor. Each swing of her sword is calculated, aiming to weaken their mobility and defensive capabilities. The raptors synchronize their attacks, attempting to overwhelm Danny. With a well-timed somersault, she narrowly avoids their coordinated assault. Mid-air, she manages to graze one of the creatures with a downward slash, inflicting a deeper wound. Spotting a higher vantage point, Danny leaps onto a crumbling structure. The raptors, unable to follow her ascent, growl in frustration. From her elevated position, Danny gains a strategic advantage, surveying the battlefield for her next move. Leaping down, Danny executes a rapid descent, surprising the raptors below. She lands with a precision strike, incapacitating one of the creatures. The remaining raptor, now hesitant, assesses Danny with caution. With a relentless determination, Danny engages the remaining raptor in a final duel. She feints, drawing the creature's attention before delivering a decisive blow to its weakened underbelly. The raptor crumbles to the ground, vanquished. Given no time to catch her breath, the undead enemies attack relentlessly and force the teen to continue fighting for her life. As Danny maneuvers around the ruins, she encounters a towering undead behemoth with traits reminiscent of ancient megafauna. The creature's massive, gnarled tusks jut out from its skeletal skull, and its formidable size and strength make it a daunting opponent. Each thunderous footfall reverberates through the dilapidated structures, adding an unsettling rhythm to the battle. The tusk behemoth charges the ruins, crumbling them around Danny with a headbutt. The tusk revenant charges at Danny with thunderous footsteps, its massive tusks gleaming in the eerie light of the ruined structures. Danny's instincts kick in, and she swiftly dodges to the side, narrowly avoiding the deadly charge. The air ripples with the force of the creature's momentum. The tusk revenant barrels forward, intent on goring Danny with its formidable tusks. She performs a quick sidestep, the wind rushing past her as the creature charges, its tusks grazing the air where she stood moments before. Seizing the opportunity, Danny executes a graceful spin, bringing her sword down in a slashing motion. The blade connects with the Revenant's flank, leaving a visible gash. However, the creature remains undeterred, its aggression unfazed. With the charging Revenant momentarily slowed after the missed attack, Danny darts towards a nearby ruined structure. Using her agility, she vaults onto a higher platform, gaining a brief respite and evaluating her next move. The tusked Revenant, undeterred by the initial setback, begins a relentless pursuit. It charges towards the structure, determined to reach Danny. The ground shakes with each powerful step as it approaches the elevated platform. As the Revenant attempts to climb the structure, Danny takes advantage of its exposed flank. With precise strikes, she delivers calculated blows to its vulnerable areas, attempting to weaken the creature's resolve and find an opening. The Revenant, growing frustrated with Danny's elusive maneuvers, attempts a final desperate charge. Danny, recognizing the danger, executes a breathtaking leap from the structure just in time, narrowly evading the creature's tusks. As the tusked Revenant crashes into the structure, momentarily stunned, Danny seizes the opportunity. Descending with a rapid flourish, she directs her sword towards the creature's neck, aiming for a critical blow to exploit its vulnerability. Danny's sword is buried to the hilt in the thick neck muscles of the creature and becomes lodged. The beast shakes violently, shrugging Danny off and causing her to lose grip on her sword. As the Revenant dislodges itself from the ruins and charges the teen once more, Danny manages to evade the beast and grab hold of her sword. The Revenant's own momentum shears its neck open, decapitating itself. A winged horror, resembling a monstrous fusion of prehistoric reptile and bird, takes to the air with an otherworldly screech. Its leathery wings, frayed and tattered, create an eerie silhouette against the glow of the mage's artificial lighting and enchantments. The creature's eyes gleam with an unnatural hunger as it swoops down, talons outstretched, aiming to snatch Danny in its airborne assault. In the shadows, a spectral apparition of an ancient hunter, part canine and part feline, emerges. Its ghostly form melds with the darkness, and its haunting growls echo through the ruins. The feathered reptile Revenant, with its razor-sharp claws and predatory instincts, advances towards Danny. The air is filled with tension as the two adversaries prepare for the clash. The Revenant moves with a calculated grace, its talons glinting ominously. Danny assesses its movements, keeping a cautious distance, as she readies herself for the impending engagement. Launching into action, the feathered Revenant lunges forward with a flurry of swift attacks. Danny responds with agile footwork, deflecting the razor-sharp claws with her sword, and executing precise counter-strikes in return. The Revenant adapts its tactics, unleashing a barrage of feathered projectiles. Danny evades with acrobatic finesse, narrowly avoiding the lethal feathers that cut through the air like deadly blades. Recognizing the need to reassess, Danny strategically retreats to a more advantageous position. The feathered Revenant, sensing her calculated move, pursues relentlessly, claws ready to strike. As the Revenant closes in, Danny harnesses her heightened agility, vaulting over debris and using the uneven terrain to her advantage. The feathered predator struggles to keep pace with Danny's elusive movements. Danny, seizing the opportunity, synchronizes her attacks with the creature's lunges. The clash of steel and claw resonates through the air as both combatants push their limits in a dance of deadly precision. With each exchange, Danny strategically exposes weaknesses in the Revenant's defenses. She targets vulnerable joints and vital areas, attempting to wear down the relentless adversary. The feathered Revenant lunged forward, jaws wide open, aiming to ensnare Danny within its razor-toothed maw. Danny reacted with split-second timing, executing a nimble sidestep to narrowly evade the impending threat. Following the failed bite, the Revenant unleashed a flurry of razor-sharp claws, slashing through the air with deadly precision. Danny seamlessly weaved through the onslaught, utilizing her agility to dodge each calculated strike. As the Revenant extended his claws for another assault, Danny gracefully danced around its attacks. In a seamless display of skill, she expertly parried and deflected the creature's strikes with her sword, maintaining a defensive stance. Recognizing an opportune moment, Dany strategically retreated, drawing the Revenant into a position where its movements became predictable. The creature pursued, intent on reclaiming the upper hand. Seizing the moment, Dany launched a precise counterattack. With a swift and calculated motion, she closed the distance and swung her sword upward with precision, aiming for the Revenant's vulnerable neck. The Revenant, sensing the impending strike, thrashed violently, attempting to evade the sword's deadly arc. Dany displayed exceptional reflexes, dodging the creature's frantic movements, while maintaining focus on her opponent. In a moment of flawless execution, Dany's blade found its mark. With a decisive and powerful swing, she sliced through the Revenant's neck, severing the creature's head from its body in a flash of black gore. The once menacing Revenant, now incapacitated, collapsed to the ground in silent defeat. Dany stood victorious, her sword stained with the essence of the fallen foe. Even with her small victory, she cannot rest. The wastes are teeming with ravenous undead, drawn to the area, sensing the vibrant life energy of the team and the magical power of Master Orcus. The revenants and lesser undead continue to flood in. I don't have the stamina to keep this up forever, Dany thinks, swinging her sword around to keep the lesser creatures away. If Master Orcus doesn't end his fight against that Draugr soon, I don't see how either of us are going to get out of here alive. Even as Dany continues her struggle for survival, Master Orcus too fights with everything he has against the Draugr. Orcus, quick on his feet, sent forth a rapid growth of thick vines from the ground, aiming to ensnare the Draugr. The vines twisted and coiled, attempting to bind the creature and restrict its movements. The Draugr, with its ability to absorb magical energy, attempted to absorb the energy from the entangled vines. Orcus, anticipating this move, severed the connection between himself and the ensnared vines to prevent the Draugr from draining his magic. Seizing the momentary distraction caused by the vines, Orcus summoned ethereal vine-like extensions to lift him into the air. From his elevated position, he gained a strategic advantage, surveying the battlefield below. Orcus, now airborne, conjured sharp thorns and projectiles made of plant matter. He unleashed a barrage of these projectiles, aiming to pierce through the Draugr's tough ape-like hide and disrupt its magical absorption capabilities. The Draugr, recognizing the threat, pounded the ground with powerful fists, creating shock waves. Orcus responded by manipulating the roots beneath the surface, forming a protective barrier that absorbed and nullified the impact of the shock waves. Orcus, channeling the essence of his plant magic, summoned large animated flowers with tendrils that sought to constrict and restrain the Draugr. The vibrant and ethereal flora wrapped around the creature, restricting its movements. The Draugr, in a display of brute strength, fought against the floral restraints. Its ape-like muscles strained as it attempted to break free from the magical bindings Orcus had imposed upon it. Orcus, sensing an opportunity, orchestrated a dazzling burst of floral energy. The vibrant bloom disoriented the Draugr, temporarily blinding it and disrupting its focus on magical absorption. Seizing the moment of vulnerability, Orcus descended from the air, gathering the surrounding vines and flowers to a concentrated burst of magical energy. With a final potent surge, he directed the enchanted energy towards the Draugr, aiming to overcome its magical defenses and incapacitate the formidable foe. Hanotate! Orcus conjured a shimmering shield made of enchanted leaves that surrounded him. The shield harnessed sunlight and converted it into a protective barrier, defending against the Draugr's attempts to strike him directly. In a world devoid of sunlight, the spell could only draw from Orcus's own life force and vitality, severely limiting its potency. The ethereal foliage coalesced into a protective barrier, forming an intricate lattice that absorbed and dispersed the initial impact of the Draugr's powerful attack. Orcus manipulated the magical energy within the leaves, configuring them into a dynamic shield that shimmered with an otherworldly glow. The leafy barrier intercepted the Draugr's oncoming assault, momentarily holding against the brute force. The Draugr, fueled by its insatiable hunger for magical energy, began absorbing the vitality from the shield. Sensing the imminent risk of depletion, Orcus swiftly made the decision to dismiss the shield before the Draugr could fully exploit its energy-absorbing abilities. Orcus gracefully sidestepped, allowing the Draugr's attack to disperse harmlessly through the air where the shield once stood. The mage's nimble movements evoked a dance, a fleeting pirouette that carried him out of harm's way. In the wake of the evasive maneuver, Orcus summoned a fresh burst of magical leaves, reshaping them into razor-sharp blades. These conjured leaf blades glinted with an arcane aura as Orcus wielded them with both hands, ready to retaliate against the Draugr. Orcus launched a flurry of swift strikes, sending the leaf blades whirling through the air in a lethal dance. The enchanted foliage sought the Draugr with precision, aiming for vulnerable points where the creature's defenses were not as fortified. As the Draugr began absorbing the magical energy embedded within the conjured leaf blades, Orcus recognized the need for strategic retreat. He smoothly disengaged from the immediate proximity, creating distance to reassess his approach. Fos Lingando! Reacting swiftly, Orcus summoned long, flexible lianas that striked towards the Draugr. With a quick and coordinated movement, he aimed to ensnare the creature and restrict its movements. The Draugr, absorbing the magical energy from the lianas, retaliated with renewed vigor. The enchanted vines sprouted from the ground, their verdant forms coiling and twisting in the air. Orcus skillfully directed the conjured lianas towards the Draugr, aiming to ensnare the creature in a living web of enchanted vegetation. The lianas moved with a life of their own, seeking to wrap around the Draugr and restrict its movements. The Draugr, true to its nature, absorbed the magical essence woven into the lianas. As the vines made contact with the creature, it drained the life force from them, weakening their magical properties. Orcus, attuned to the ebb and flow of the battle, adapted quickly. Instead of attempting to overpower the Draugr with the weakened lianas, he repurposed them for defense. The enchanted vines formed a dynamic barrier, intercepting the Draugr's retaliatory strikes. Orcus used the flexibility of the lianas to his advantage, employing them in a dance of evasion. The enchanted vines deftly sidestepped the Draugr's attacks, providing Orcus with a means to gracefully elude the creature's advances. Seizing an opportune moment, Orcus redirected a portion of the lianas towards the Draugr once again. Hanabira no Mabaroshi! Orcus created illusions of himself formed from petals and blossoms. The illusions moved in tandem with him, confusing the Draugr and making it challenging for the creature to pinpoint the true location of its foe. However, the Draugr's magical absorption diminished the effectiveness of this deceptive tactic. Each petal held a fragment of his essence. With a deft wave of his hand, the illusions of Orcus scattered in multiple directions. The illusions mimicked Orcus's movements with uncanny accuracy, creating a mesmerizing display of illusionary copies. The Draugr, momentarily confounded by the multitude of Orcus-like figures, struggled to discern the true mage amidst the fleeting petals. Orcus, concealed within the veil of his illusion, seized the opportunity to strategically reposition himself. The illusory images danced and weaved around the Draugr, guiding the creature's attention away from Orcus's true location. Orcus, now in a more advantageous position, manipulated the petals to form a veil that shrouded his next move. With a sudden burst of speed, he emerged from the illusionary cover, conjuring razor-sharp petals into a concentrated attack, aimed at the Draugr. Orcus left behind illusionary afterimages as he swiftly retreated, further complicating the Draugr's attempts to track his movements. The lingering petals and blossoms created a surreal landscape, blurring the lines between reality and illusion. Hyakumai no Sakura! Orcus gathered ambient energy to summon a storm of razor-sharp petals that swirled around the Draugr. Each petal was infused with magical potential, but the Draugr absorbed a significant portion of the incoming energy, mitigating the overall damage. Orcus raised his hands, and the air around him crackled with magical energy. In an instant, countless more razor-sharp petals materialized, forming a storm of swirling death. Each petal gleamed with a razor's edge, poised to unleash a devastating assault. Orcus directed the petals with masterful precision, orchestrating their movements to create a symphony of lethal beauty. The petals danced through the air, a shimmering wave of silver that surged toward the Draugr. The storm of petals coalesced into a cyclone of blades, spinning with breathtaking speed. As the tempest closed in on the Draugr, it resembled a deadly vortex, slicing through the air with an otherworldly grace. The Draugr, faced with the onslaught, raised its arms in an attempt to shield itself from the razor-sharp assault. The petals, however, proved relentless, cutting through the creature's magical defenses and leaving lacerations on its armored form. Orcus intensified the storm, causing the petals to swirl around the Draugr from all directions. The creature found itself ensnared in a cyclone of blades, struggling against the relentless barrage that left no room for respite. Orcus manipulated the roots beneath the ground to form an intricate ephemeral cage around the Draugr. The cage tightened, attempting to immobilize the creature. Trapped within the root cage, the Draugr was pelted by the razor petals from all directions. Yet, the Draugr's energy absorption enabled it to break free, demonstrating its increasing resilience. Orcus amplified the illusionary aspect of his magic, creating a dazzling display of blooming flowers that obscured the Draugr's vision. While the Draugr struggled to navigate through the floral mirage, Orcus prepared for his next move. Orcus summoned a colossal vine with a voracious appetite for magical energy. The vine lashed out at the Draugr, aiming to drain its energy. However, the Draugr, adapting to the onslaught, absorbed the vine's energy, momentarily strengthening itself. Before the Draugr can attack, Orcus drops his hands to the ground and causes a massive tree to erupt from below the creature and strike it in the chest. The tree continues to grow at high speed, propelling the Draugr backward. Managing to absorb enough energy from the tree to weaken it, the Draugr shatters the wood with a mighty roar. A second branch suddenly juts off from the main tree, again slamming into the Draugr's chest and propelling it back. The Draugr drops to one knee, weakened. It is unable to absorb enough energy from Orcus's attacks to offset the damage it is taking. Desperate, the Draugr lunged toward the nearby smaller revenants. With a monstrous appetite, it seized the creatures, tearing them apart with its formidable jaws. As it devoured the fallen revenants, the Draugr absorbed their spiritual essence, rejuvenating its strength. Fueled by the energy gained from its grisly feast, the Draugr surged forward with newfound vigor. Its attacks became more ferocious and unpredictable, catching Orcus off guard and forcing him onto the defensive. With each strike, the Draugr absorbed traces of Orcus's plant magic, draining the magical essence from the conjured lianas and leaving them brittle and lifeless. The creature's insatiable hunger for magical energy seemed insurmountable. Orcus, recognizing the dire situation, retreated hastily while conjuring a shield of intertwined leaves and branches. The shield, while resilient, cracked and diminished vitality as the Draugr's relentless magical absorption took its toll. Orcus danced between the Draugr's relentless assaults, evading with nimble footwork and desperate maneuvers. His plant-based illusions flickered in and out of existence, creating momentary diversions to confuse the creature. As the Draugr absorbed more magical energy, Orcus found his counterattacks increasingly hindered. The once razor-sharp petals now lacked their initial potency, and the lianas struggled to ensnare the empowered creature effectively. Maho no Kinoko! Orcus redirected his focus to the ground, causing an eruption of magical fungi beneath the Draugr's feet. These fungal entities sought to drain both the magical and physical strength of the creature, yet the Draugr, well accustomed to absorbing various forms of energy, managed to withstand the fungal assault. Orcus conjured a cyclone of razor-sharp thorns, attempting to engulf the Draugr and assail it from all sides. The thorns carried magical energy, providing an added layer of potency to the assault. The Draugr, absorbing the magical essence within the thorns, emerged from the whirlwind with a defiant roar. Orcus manipulated the surrounding vegetation to form a barrier of magical energy, attempting to repel the Draugr. The barrier responded to the Draugr's presence, creating a fluctuating force that aimed to push the creature away. However, the Draugr's absorption abilities allowed it to resist the repulsion. Orcus reached out to the essence of the nearby plants he had already summoned, imbuing his hands with the power to command rapid growth. He attempted to ensnare the Draugr within the network of magically augmented vines, restraining its movements. The Draugr, resilient as ever, absorbed the magical energy from the vines and broke free. Orcus orchestrated a convergence of magical foliage, creating a dense thicket that surrounded the Draugr. The thicket concealed the creature momentarily, providing Orcus with a brief respite. However, the Draugr's absorption capabilities quickly dispelled the magical concealment. Orcus summoned ethereal stems from the ground, each charged with magical energy. The stems shot towards the Draugr in a relentless barrage, seeking to pierce its defenses. The Draugr, absorbing the incoming magical assault, pressed forward undeterred. Orcus drew upon the latent life energy within the vegetation, causing the surrounding flora to burst into vibrant blossoms. The blossoms emitted a magical aura that revitalized Orcus, enhancing his own magical capabilities. Dialga Ionisai, Orcus shouts, firing a barrage of thorns at the creature. The Draugr does not slow, ignoring the projectiles before they are finally absorbed into its body as sustenance. Lan Duel! Orcus swings his leaf blade, but the Draugr blocks the attack with a forearm. The creature howls and sucks in a huge breath, swallowing the leaf blade's spell. Orcus' chest heaves as his stamina drops drastically. Nimhe! Stain! The mage fires another round of thorns, but they too are absorbed. But as they are absorbed, they leak a toxic poison into the Draugr's body. The Draugr staggers, dropping to a knee as the poison begins to weaken it. A bluish-purple luminescence flows through the creature's body, circulating the poison as if it were within a mortal being's circulatory system. Even though it has some intelligence, the Draugr is not smart enough to end its rampage, and continues forward. The creature forces itself to stand back up and advance. You weakened it, but it wasn't enough, Danny shouts. That monster just won't give up. The Draugr picks up a handful of stones and hurls them at the mages. Danny braces for collision, having only the sword to defend herself. She's not quick enough to dodge all of the incoming stones and fears that if she is hit by even one of them, her bones will be crushed. If she is left unable to move, nothing will stop the Draugr from making an easy meal of her whenever it pleases. The only thing in her favor is that the Draugr is more interested in the magical energy of Orcus, rather than Danny's life energy. Kram Kumhatak! Orcus shouts, raising a thick tree trunk between the mages and the Draugr as a barrier. The stones tear into the mighty tree barrier, shielding both Danny and Orcus. I cannot keep this barrier up for long, Orcus shouts. It has been so long since I last pushed myself in a real battle. My body is not what it once was. Danny curses, grinding her teeth in frustration and gripping the sword tightly. I wish I wasn't so worthless. I'm only a liability in this fight. Damn it! I should have never come here. You're only a liability if you allow yourself to be. I'm counting on you to end this battle when the time is right, Orcus says. How can I do anything without magic? Danny is filled with self-loathing and defeat. I'm worthless. You've come this far. How did you manage to survive against these monsters before? Many brave men and women have all been killed by these very same creatures, and each of them could use magic. You are far more capable than you give yourself credit for. The Draugr roars in anger, punching against the tree trunk in frustration. The Draugr's frustrated roar echoed through the desolate landscape, a thunderous symphony of anger and hunger. The sheer force of its bellow caused nearby trees to shudder, their branches trembling in response to the creature's tumultuous fury. Orcus, feeling the reverberations of the Draugr's rage, dropped to a knee under the strain of maintaining his magical barrier. The once vibrant shield of leaves now flickered with an erratic glow, its resilience waning against the relentless assault. The Draugr, relentless and fueled by both anger and stolen magical energy, intensified its barrage against Orcus's defenses. The shield began to crack and splinter under the overwhelming force. Orcus, beads of sweat forming on his forehead, strained to hold the diminishing shield. Desperation mingled with determination in his eyes as he grappled with the realization that the Draugr's newfound power was pushing him to the brink. The vines holding the Draugr's limbs showed signs of fraying, their once potent grip loosening under the creature's relentless assault. Orcus fought against the inevitable unraveling of his last defense, aware that his fate hung in the balance. Orcus, fueled by a surge of desperation, gathered the last fragments of his magical energy. With a reckless yet determined sprint, he conjured razor-sharp petals and hurled them at the Draugr, hoping to buy a momentary respite. The Draugr, momentarily stalled by the onslaught of petals, staggered backward. "Can you manage to enhance my stats with Creonle?" Danny asks. "What are you planning?" Orcus asks, still struggling. "I'm going to finally end this," Danny says with resolve. "I'm going to accomplish what I came here for. I'm going to kill that Draugr and get my magic back. To cast the spell, I'll have to dismiss the barrier. We'll only have a split second before the monster attacks." Danny grips the sword tightly in preparation. "That's all the time I'll need if you can increase my speed and strength enough." Orcus releases his spell and quickly turns towards Danny and holds his hands out. "Creonle!" Danny feels her strength, speed, and reflexes increase just as the Draugr lunges forward to grab Orcus. Danny springs forward and slashes her blade down through the Draugr's arm. With the boosted strength, she is able to completely sever the appendage. Danny pivots, slashing upward across the beast's chest. The Draugr twists to attack with its other arm, but Orcus counters with another spell. "Fas Finiuna!" Orcus chants. Vines wrap around the Draugr's arm, pulling it back long enough for Danny to leap forward with a downward slash to sever the other appendage. The Draugr staggers back wounded, but Danny refuses to let up, hacking away at any part of the creature she can reach. The Draugr lunges forward, attempting to drain Danny's magical essence with its ghostly touch. But she sidesteps with agile precision, nearly avoiding the spectral grasp. Swiftly, Danny retaliates, slashing at the Draugr's side with her sword, her blade cutting through the ethereal form. The creature recoils momentarily, its form disrupted by the powerful strike. Knowing she must stay on the offensive, Danny anticipates the Draugr's next move. As it conjures dark energies to unleash a magical assault, she times her movements precisely, ducking and rolling to evade the mystical onslaught. With quick reflexes, she springs back to her feet and charges, exploiting the creature's momentary vulnerability. Despite the absence of magical enhancements, Danny's strikes are relentless. She weaves around the Draugr's attacks, demonstrating a dance of evasion and retaliation. Her swordplay becomes a rhythmic ballet, each swing calculated to exploit weaknesses in the creature's ethereal composition. "Just a little more," Danny thinks. "I've almost dealt enough damage to trap it with the scroll." Danny moves in for a final series of attacks when she is stopped cold in her tracks by a deafening howl from the darkness. Taller than the beastly Draugr, a new creature emerges into view with a look of ravenous hunger. "Our battle has drawn the attention of a second one," Orcus shouts. "Finish that one so we may retreat. We cannot face two of these creatures at once." Shaped like a centipede with a whip-like tail, the Draugr raises up to stand over 17 meters in height. Thousands of spear-like legs stab at the ground as the creature moves. 3 larger hooked arms extend from the Draugr's torso. A pallid outer layer of flesh that resembles grayed human skin covers the creature's back and the top of its head. The creature has no features on its face, but instead hundreds of tentacle mouth parts, lashing out in every direction from its gaping maw. Bioma Grene! Orcus shouts, hitting the new Draugr with a concentrated flower blast. The creature is not only ineffective, it actively devours the attack as soon as it comes within reach. Danny tries to return her attention to the first Draugr, but is caught across the face by the second creature's long, whip-like tail. The blow sends the teen speeding out of the battle and into the darkness, all alone. Dioga! Ionisai! Orcus shouts, firing thousands of thorns at the centipede Draugr. The creature absorbs the magic and ignores Orcus, turning towards the weakened beast Draugr. The instincts of the predatory creature is too strong, drawn to the stronger essence of the beast Draugr. Oh no, Orcus whispers. It's going to devour the other one. Weakened, the beast Draugr is seized upon by the centipede creature. The two grotesque entities clash in a fierce struggle, each seeking dominance over the other. The centipede, its skeletal form elongated and composed of countless segments, lunges at the Draugr with blinding speed. The Draugr, though resilient, is caught off guard by the sheer agility and ferocity of the centipede. The centipede's razor-sharp mandibles snap forward, attempting to crush the Draugr within their nightmarish embrace. In response, the Draugr employs its spectral abilities, attempting to drain the dark energy from the centipede's undead form. Dark tendrils extend from the Draugr, intertwining with the centipede's essence. However, the centipede, undeterred, pulses with its own malevolent energy, resisting the Draugr's attempt to siphon its power. As the battle continues, the centipede's countless legs become a relentless barrage, each segment striking the Draugr with bone-crushing force. The Draugr retaliates with bursts of magical energy, attempting to destabilize the centipede's form. However, the centipede's resilience and sheer mass render the Draugr's efforts less effective than anticipated. Bioma Grene! Orcus shouts, firing another desperate flower blast. The centipede Draugr is undeterred, consuming the other Draugr and beginning to mutate almost instantly. Hair grows all along the outer skin, and an ape-like face forms out of the featureless head above the mouth parts. The 3 spear-like main arms grow fur and fingers, becoming large primate appendages. Despite being consumed, the ape within the first Draugr is of a higher intelligence, and is the more dominant personality, so it starts to take on more of its appearance. Danny opens her eyes, seeing nothing but darkness. Her head throbs with pain, and she's pretty sure that she has a concussion. Damn it, she thinks. What's happening? She looks around, finally able to see the glow of the magic surrounding Orcus as he desperately attacks the mutated Draugr. Danny searches for the glow of her sword, but has either been knocked too far away or lost its enchantments. Either way, she is now unarmed and essentially blind. Orcus! Danny shouts. The elder mage attacks with everything he has, enveloping the Draugr in vines. Dozens of flower-like blooms open up, emitting point-blank blasts of energy into the creature. Nothing seems to work, as the Draugr merely eats each spell. I've reached my limit, Orcus thinks, fighting to stay conscious. The power of this combined Draugr is far too much for any of us to handle. I pray that it does not turn its attention towards the city next. The Draugr skitters towards Orcus, covering the distance in only a few seconds due to its massive size. As soon as its bulk puts pressure on several leaves lying on the ground, a plant magic trap is triggered. All of Orcus's remaining stamina has been utilized in preparing this final attack. Firag Itheplanda! A massive carnivorous flytrap rises up, towering over even the 17-meter Draugr. The plant opens up its mouth, closing it around the creature that stepped over its trigger leaves. Did he do it? Danny wonders in amazement. Can't believe how strong Orcus is. The Draugr rips free of the plant, returning feedback damage to Orcus. As the mage falls back, the Draugr thrusts several of its legs forward to pierce his chest. Blood sprays outward from the multiple puncture wounds. He hits the ground hard, barely moving. The Draugr skitters towards him, hoping to devour the injured mage before he can recover. Please, God, Friame, Geist. Orcus coughs. His stamina is low and he is severely injured. He knows he does not have enough magic power remaining to continue this battle anymore. The spell detonates conjured plant roots beneath the ground, erupting below the Draugr as it crawls towards him. The blasts do little to deter the creature, only briefly bouncing it to the sides as it continues forward. I have to give everything I have to this next spell, Orcus thinks. This is going to be my last attack. I can already feel my body slipping into darkness. If I don't take this creature with me, the girl will be killed. What good is a Knight of Solomon if they cannot protect the next generation from harm? A green glow radiates around Orcus as he converts all of his remaining energy into mana. Yobart, Krine, Fola. Vines begin to sprout from the mage's flesh and blossom into blood-red flowers. He screams out in pain as his entire body is used to conjure a massive tree. The tree towers over the Draugr, sending vines down to wrap around the creature. The Draugr struggles, the vines tightening. Instead of being able to finish the creature off, the Draugr begins to siphon off the magical energy of the tree and regain its strength. In seconds, the magical tree meant to finish off the Draugr is absorbed into its being. Not even my strongest spell was able to stop this thing, Orcus thinks, falling forward as his eyes roll back in his skull. The mage collapses to his face, blood spraying out in all directions. No! Danny screams. Mr. Orcus! The Draugr ignores Danny, sensing no magic from the teen. Instead, it crawls over to Orcus, passing the unconscious mage up along its many arms. He is carried towards the mouth tentacles. No! Danny screams, running at the Draugr. The girl is unable to do a thing to stop the mage from being eaten. Orcus never regains his consciousness again and is completely unaware that he is devoured. The mage's spirit merges with the core of the Draugr, adding his power to its own. Like the energy from a prey 1,000 times before, the Draugr absorbs Orcus's essence and its entire body erupts with boosted power. A bright light erupts from within the creature as it again mutates. 2 muscular legs sprout from the Draugr's sides, raising its height another 5 meters. An extra eye opens up on the creature's forehead, sparkling with heightened intelligence.